there's a lot of propaganda out there, right, that indoctrinates women to believe in this falsehood of equality, right? And a lot of the times, women kind of sleepwalk through life. I always consider being blue pill for a man as like a guy that's like, a simp and doesn't understand female nature and is, oblivious to this stuff. Being blue pill as a woman is like feminism, right? Thinking that women and men are equal, kind of getting a red pill dose here and there, but not understanding like what it really is. And I do commend women that understand this because you guys have so much propaganda that you guys have to overcome during your indoctrination period where, you have this whole love my curves, big is beautiful. No matter how rude you are, how crass you are, you still deserve your dream man. Like we've been indoctrinating women since the 1960s to think that they're special and they deserve the world for nothing more than having a vagina and titties. So when women are able to kind of cross that abyss, right, and understand the reality of what men are looking for, right, because this is censored a lot of times, or, what it really takes to be by a guy's side or being submissive or whatever. This is not stuff that's taught in the mainstream because it's considered misogynistic, problematic, or hate speech. So when a woman is able to kind of come to this realization, whether it's through watching people like me or Anton, or having a husband that's traditionally masculine that kind of gets this out of them, or having a strong father, a strong brother that explains this to them, it's very difficult to get this through the media. This is why so many women that don't have a strong father figure in their life struggle with this throughout their life. That's why it's so important to have strong brothers or sisters or an uncle that can kind of instill that positive masculinity into women. So understand like, this is the man's roles, these are your roles, and everything else just makes sense. But since so many women grow up in fatherless households and they don't have that positive masculinity, they kind of have to learn it the hard way, or they might not ever learn it, right? Unfortunately, some women never wake up. So until it's too late. So I do commend women that are able to understand this stuff, despite all the propaganda in the West that we've been pushing out, lying to women. Because I have this phrase, I always say it, when you lie, women buy. And people need to understand that 80% of the consumer base is female. So there's a vested interest in lying to women because to sell to women, you have to lie to them to a degree because women would rather have happy thoughts that might not benefit them in the long run than the truth. Versus with men, you have to be honest with them because reality smacks us in the face all the time. If we're fat or we're a loser or we don't speak well or we stink, like there's direct ramifications. We don't get girls, no one respects us. So when you market to men, you must be honest because the real-time results hit them. But with women, you can kind of lie and be like, oh yeah, it's okay. You're fine in that dress, even though you look fat. Because some simp is still going to go ahead and reinforce that bad mindset. So that's the difference between marketing to women and marketing to men. So any girl that's able to cross that abyss and like understand this stuff, she's already, I commend them because there is quite a bit of propaganda that indoctrinates you guys to not understand the truth.
Why do you, Myron, this is for you. Do you experience, I don't know if you go spend a lot of time on any other panels or anything like that. I do see you in, on X, in those spaces, sometimes having those conversations and things like that. When you come here, people really want the girls to go at you. And I'm just being real. And I say, listen, they're not going to go at him. First of all, I don't think that they're going to go at you at all. But secondly, it's a difference between having a conversation where you may disagree, but it doesn't mean that they have to go at you. And none of these girls go at you for the sake of going at you. They may have different questions, or maybe you saying something that you're bringing extra insight on or whatever that, enlightens them or whatever, which is a good thing because the goal is to actually get some more insight and then to make better decisions and create a better environment, right? But when you go to other places, if you go to other places, do you deal with or do you see people looking for women to go at you?
Yeah. It's kind of a thing like, oh yeah, go at Myron because he's the toxic misogynist. And I really do appreciate the ladies on this panel because I see that they're trying to kind of understand, even if I say something that's abrasive, I can see that they're like I can see the framework, the gears turning and they're like, okay, let me try to see what he means by this. And like, then if they do have a question or they disagree, it's like an eloquent response, like, okay, well, why do you think that way? Or can you explain this? Versus other women, they're not really trying to understand. They're just trying to challenge my worldview and give their, nonsensical worldview from a limited perspective a lot of the time. So there's a difference. And then the other thing too is like, I don't even hate to say this. I'll just be honest. Most women lack critical thinking skills. They just simply lack critical thinking skills. And, I don't blame them. If you've been, hot your entire life and no one's ever challenged the way you think or the way that you view the world, yeah, you're not going to have critical thinking skills. So, the ladies on this panel, a lot of times when I come in, are able to understand that to a degree. And I try to do my best to, articulate it in a way where it makes sense. Even if you are like, okay, that's abrasive, but I can see why he's saying it, right? With me explaining, for example, why women shouldn't be in the military. When I talk about, them being put in danger and how it's, it could lead to them being hostages and how that can lead to problems for not just them, but then the United States with getting them back. And I use Israel as an example when it comes to the dire consequences of having hostages and having diplomatic nightmares. Right. And we talked about Brittany Griner. So like if people allow me the ability to explain why I have the position I have, a lot of the times they end up agreeing. But a lot of times I don't even get there because they're just so offended by the fact that I say women are inferior to men. The end's there for them. Like they can't even see how I came to that conclusion. Right. So that's what ends up happening a lot of the times, unfortunately. And this is just women. This is a lot of people. Right. Even when I've been doing these street debates. Right. Even with men, I've realized like, holy shit, a lot of men are retards, too.
I did a review video on some of your street debates. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, man. The street debate shit kind of made me realize, like, damn, motherfuckers are stupid. Like, even guys, right? Like, it's one thing with girls. I could give them an excuse. Like, they've been praised their whole life and they're attractive. Cool, I get it. People who lie to get laid. But with men, I'm like, how the fuck are you this unaware? Like, what the hell? So,
what are you experiencing on these street debates? Like, I've been watching them. I've been watching them live sometimes when I can catch them, and if not, then I'll watch the replay or I'll watch the clips. The majority of the people walking up and having these conversations with you, what is your impression? Because I know that that's much different, obviously, than doing after hours on a Fresh and Fit channel and stuff like that. Do you like it more? What is your general sentiment as far as now that you're spending a lot more time doing the street debates?
I like it. It's different, right? You get people from different walks of life. Men come up, women come up, people from different backgrounds. So that's cool. What it's really taught me is that like most people are just painfully unaware of uncomfortable, red pill truths, both on the male and the female side. On the geopolitical side, because I've debated Israel quite a bit, a lot of people are unaware of that too, completely unaware. I mean, for lack of a better term, Americans are stupid. If I'm be 100% honest, like a lot of Americans are just retards. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Do you like it more, like the street stuff?
It's different. It creates more diverse conversation because I end up talking about politics. Like I spent a whole thing talking to this one guy about immigration who was complaining, saying like, oh, they're discriminating against the brown people and they're arresting them. But it's like, yeah, well, a lot of the brown people, like the majority of illegal aliens in the United States are from South America and Mexico. Like, of course, they're gonna be, overrepresented when they get arrested because that's where the most illegals are from. So,
yeah.
But simple things like that, like it's hard for people to understand. And this is why progressivism is so cancerous because it forces you have to almost not live in reality to accept some of the ridiculous stances that they have, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Oh, use the correct pronouns. There's 99 genders. Well, that doesn't make sense because there's only 2 genders. Oh, that's offensive. So they almost want you to live in their clown world so that they can substantiate their ridiculous worldview that there's 99 genders for feelings. But the reality is if a transgender person dies right now, right, and 1,000 years from now, some archaeologist excavates the bones, they're going to say this was a male. They're going to say that it was a he, she, or a lawnmower, or whatever the hell they identified as. They're going to say this was a man, right? But this is the clown world that we're in where progressives get loonier and loonier and loonier year by year, and they expect you to join in on the lunacy. And conservatism now, it used to be, nationalism, traditional gender roles, etc. Now what it's really become, conservatism, is just common sense. Make no mistake about it. When Donald Trump campaigned in 2024, I remember him and Vance, they literally said, vote for us. We're the administration of common sense. What the hell is going on where presidents are now running on the concept of we have common sense? That's crazy to me that was their campaign slogan. But that goes to show and exemplify how far left we've come in the United States, where we got men competing against women in sports. We have dudes identifying as we don't know what the hell they are, dressing up as cats and saying I'm a woman or a feline. Like absolute clown world.
Kim, was you about to say something? What was you about to say?
I was looking at people keep saying that I'm mad or whatever. No, my stance still hasn't changed. I'm still saying that liberals can't be masculine. I've figured out though that
I agree with you on that.
where
Why
we're
are they
just
challenging you on that? That's true. If you're a liberal, it's damn near
want,
impossible for you
they
to be
want the
masculine.
women to go at you, bro.
No, she said they can be masculine.
Oh, they can be. No,
they can. So what I'm saying is that I don't think that all liberals are feminists. I think that there's a lot of overlap, but I don't think 100% of liberals are feminists. And so it's in that space where I'm saying that these men can still be masculine. These men are still men.
It's possible, but not probable. I would say the staggering majority of progressives and liberals, they believe that men and women are equal, and that is where the problem stems, because they believe in the blank slate equality theory. Now, are there some guys out there that are progressives that also can be masculine? For sure, but that's going to be a minority. You know, it's possible, but not probable.
Might be the case. I just don't like lumping everybody all in one space. I'm not going to say this is the only way that masculinity can look. And so that's why
there's always going to be exceptions. There's always going to be exceptions. But I would say the majority of hyper-masculine men are probably going to err on the side of being conservatives.
Yeah, it's funny because, not to switch the subject, I kind of hate the fact that I picked sides years ago, a long time, and that because when I started to really study you and pay attention to a lot of the things that you said, it wasn't really much that I ever disagreed with. And I almost feel like it's so much wasted time, even to the point to where people today, they hit me up and then they send me messages and say, hey, why don't you challenge Myron, and why don't you say this? And I'm like, why do y'all want us to beef? I don't understand why.
For their entertainment.
They want us to go at each other.
Now, you know what the thing is too? A lot of people watch my clips, right? A lot of people watch my clips and they think like, oh, that must be a stance on everything. And most people don't actually watch my content long form and see what my worldviews are or why I say the things that I say. Like, for example, when I'm critical of the black community, right? Oh, you're just a racist. Okay. Nobody actually talked about my real grievances with, you know, the lack of father figures, the abundance of rap music that's
that is what happened
violent.
with the guy that approached the black guy that was going back and forth.
There you go, yeah.
But then at the same time, he called black women bitches. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when he was like, well, you basically just proved my point.
Yeah.
You know, with how it is that you operate and so on and so forth. But people, if I disagree with somebody, I don't even like to call it debates anymore. I just like to have conversations, because if I disagree with somebody, I may even disagree with somebody on one point, or we may have a conversation about something where I get more insight from. But people are genuinely thirsty for beef, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, the thing is, people like conflict, man. You know, that's really what it comes down to. You got to remember that the average person, you know, works a job that they hate, goes home, watches the, you know, YouTube or TV for drama. You know, this is why soap operas are so popular, because most people's lives are fairly mundane. So for them to get the entertainment, conflict brings entertainment, right? We've known this since the Roman Empire. That's why they had gladiators fighting. So it's a very primitive need in the human brain to observe conflict and be entertained by it. So that's why they love it.
And if I give a compliment, oh God.
Yeah, they hate it, man. A lot of people, it's crazy, man. It's like a love-hate relationship. Like, a lot of people in the black community love me, and then a lot of people are like, "Oh, we hate this guy. He's a fucking racist." And it's like, bro, I talk shit about everybody, bro. Like, it's, you know.
Well, that's what I was saying. I had a conversation on Monday night on my other channel where we do the panels on Monday nights.
Yeah,
and they were saying that they didn't necessarily disagree with what you said when you were having a conversation in the street debate against the guy. I don't know, it was a Versace shirt or something that he had, but they didn't like how you say it, or they don't like how you talk or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, but what is it that he's saying that you actually disagree with? And I think that is probably one of the biggest things that people have to say, is that they don't necessarily like what you represent, or maybe that you write, or how you say it, or maybe they're not used to masculinity or something like that. But I don't find that people can really make an argument against what you say. I think that people more or less is trying to make an argument against the fact that you said it out loud, and most people are trying to be politically correct.
Yeah, I mean, especially on social media where no one wants to get canceled. Go ahead, bro.
I do have something to say about that, though, because the problem with that narrative is, and I don't think you're a bigot at all. The problem with that narrative is, though, that you point out some of the lowest of the low when it comes to black people, but we don't do that with all the other groups. That's my only issue with it. Like we don't do that with other groups of people. We just accept them the way that they are. And I think black people is an easy target due to the fact that the media wants to paint this picture of us, you know, and you know who controls the media. And this is what they do. So I think with you knowing who these people are and how they operate, I think it's somewhat unfair to just make it seem like black people as a whole are this way. I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but it's gonna come off that way, and that's what's gonna rub people the wrong way. So I think it's fair to say that some of these people they're just in how they feel. They don't know how to express it though, because they don't really know the truth of what's going on. I think that's the issue.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people are sensitive too, man. Right? Like, we've gotten to a point now where people prefer to hear comfortable truths over, comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths, right? Because, you know, if you have an uncomfortable truth, then that forces change. And human beings in general don't like change. So that's really what it comes down to, man. And you know, with black people, let's just be honest here. They kind of have a cloak to hide behind because they're going to come back and say, well, we fought for our freedom and slavery and Jim Crow and all this other stuff. Like, we just got done with that. And now you guys want to come up and criticize us. So they're kind of able to like utilize that as a shield from valid criticism. And the reason why they hate me so much is because I look like them and I say these things. So what they do is they try to discredit me and say, oh, well, you're not really black. Meanwhile, my parents are from Sudan, which literally means the land of the blacks. But, you know, it is what it is. Like, instead of attacking my arguments, instead they say, you're not even one of us to get the criticism, which is comical to me because I look at it like the analogy I always use is, well, do I have to be a mathematician to say 1 + 1 is 2? No, it's an objective fact. So regardless of what someone's skin color is, I could be green. The truth is the truth, regardless of who says it. But, you know, that's kind of what I've noticed is instead of attacking my arguments, they attack me and try to discredit me and say, well, you can't comment on this because you don't understand our plight. But in reality, not only do I understand the black plight, I've dealt with it even more so than they have, because people forget after 9/11, not only did, you know, well, blacks, you know, always get, profiled, but I got it on both ends because I'm an Arab, I'm Muslim, but I'm also black. So I got it both where, you know, I'm getting hit at the airport and at the grocery store. The Chinese people think I'm stealing and the TSA is looking at me like, what are you doing here? So it's like, you know, if I wanted to be a victim and say, oh my God, look, I've been a victim of racism and bigotry and whatever, I could cry on that all day, but I refuse to utilize that. And, you know, instead of me complaining and crying and saying that, oh no, I was, you know, persecuted and I've been the subject of racism. Like I said, no, I'm going to defeat the odds. I'm going to speak proper English, not be a moron. I'll get into the federal government and do the very job that the people used to, the people that used to oppress me used to do. And, I'm not going to sit here and be a victim. And I chose to take the latter, not be a victim versus complaining about my circumstances. So that's another reason why they hate me too, is because I've been there and I chose to not make the excuse about white supremacy or any other shit. Now, when it comes to when I talk about them boys, right, the Jays, I don't really speak about them from a perspective as in they're holding us back. Rather, I speak at from a perspective of I dislike the fact that they run our foreign policy. And then if you do talk about the fact that they run our foreign policy, they go ahead and censor you. Well, that's a problem to me because now they're getting into our First Amendment rights.